Hey everyone, welcome back. How are y'all doing today? Before we start, please hit that like button and subscribe. Sue was successful. She had built a company from nothing. Steve had been her friend and her investor. She refused his money at first, but eventually she needed it. After he gave her the money, he changed. He called her day and night, showed up at her dates. Once, he punched a man she was seeing, knocked him out cold. No charges were filed. Then, one day, Steve vanished. She stopped seeing his red truck. The footsteps outside her door stopped. She thought it was over. For 2 years, she rebuilt her life. Then, one night, she heard a knock. A hooded figure stood outside. She didn't answer. He knocked again, waited 20 minutes, then left. The next day, Sue hired me. I started investigating Steve. His real name wasn't Steve. He had used different names in other towns. He played the same game, gave money to women, then harassed them. But here's the strange part. His trail ended 2 years ago. No credit card activity, no phone records, no social media, nothing. It was like he had died, but kept walking. I set up surveillance outside Sue's house. For 3 nights, nothing. Then, at 2 a.m., I saw him. A hooded figure walking toward her front door. I got out of my car. He saw me, and he ran. Fast, unnatural, into the woods behind her house. I tracked him. At sunrise, I found a small shed deep in the trees. The smell hit me first. Someone had been living there a long time. Food wrappers, beer cans, a wheelchair. In the chair, a mannequin. Blonde wig, makeup, a photo of Sue and Steve in its lap. I called the police. We waited. Then, the hooded figure returned. He walked up to the shed and started talking to the mannequin, whispering, petting its hair, calling it Sue. The police arrested him. It was Steve, but he wasn't the same man. He was thin. His eyes were hollow. He smelled like the dead. He didn't speak. He just stared at the mannequin. Sue never went near those woods again. She moved, changed her name. But she told me something before she left. She said that on the last night she lived there, after Steve was arrested, she woke up at 3 a.m. She heard tapping on her window. She looked out. There was a figure standing on her lawn. Not Steve. The mannequin. Blonde wig. At the time, I was engaged, but I had this feeling, a sick, gnawing feeling, that my fiancé was cheating on me. I couldn't shake it. My friends fed the paranoia. One of them said I should hire a private investigator. I thought it was ridiculous, but I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat, so I did something stupid. I searched for private investigators on Craigslist. I found one, a guy named Shane. We agreed to meet at a park. When I got there, I felt uneasy. The park felt wrong, too quiet. The birds weren't singing. Shane showed up late. He wasn't what I expected. Overweight, sweatpants, looked like he hadn't slept in days. He introduced me to his girlfriend, Gabby. She was worse. Pale, hollow-eyed, didn't speak, just stared. Shane asked me a lot of personal questions. Then he asked for cash, off the books. I gave him the money. I should have walked away then, but I was desperate. A week passed. Nothing. Then, at 1:16 a.m., I got a text. I have news. Meet me now. Do not wait until morning. I drove to the address he gave me. It was an abandoned house. Dark, empty. I sat in my car, waiting. My phone buzzed. Doors open. I texted back. Meet me outside. He replied, the door's unlocked. Come inside. I went in. It was pitch black. I called out. No answer. Another text. We're in the basement. Just come down. The basement door was ajar. I opened it. Nothing but darkness. No lights, no office, just a void. Then my phone buzzed one more time. Are you coming down? Or are you just gonna stand there all night? Something stopped me. Not fear. Something else. A cold draft coming up from that basement, and with it, a smell. Not mold, not rot. Something older. Something that had been down there a very long time. I shut the door. I ran. When I got to my car, another text. Good for you, buddy. Take care. I drove home. I didn't sleep. I tried calling Shane the next day. The number was dead. The Craigslist post was gone. I never reported it. I was too scared. But I found out something later. Shane and Gabby had done this before. In other towns, other states. They lured people to empty houses, took their money, and tried to send them down into dark basements. Some went, some didn't. The ones who went were never seen again. No bodies. I never reported it. I was too scared. But I found out something later. Shane and Gabby had done this before. In other towns, other states. They lured people to empty houses, took their money, and tried to send them down into dark basements. Some went, some didn't. The ones who went were never seen again. No bodies, no evidence, just a hole where they used to be. I still don't know what was down there. I don't want to know. But sometimes, late at night, I dream about that basement door, and I hear someone calling up from the dark. Are you coming down, or are you just gonna stand there all night? After I moved to a new city for work, the world shut down. I was alone. I joined dating apps, not looking for love, just connection. I met a few men, nothing serious. Then I met Wade. He was handsome, smart, funny, everything you'd want. But something was off. I couldn't put my finger on it. He seemed too perfect, too eager. We went on a few dates. I tried to feel the spark, but it wasn't there. A few weeks later, I noticed a gray SUV with dark-tinted windows outside my house. Every night, parked across the street. The driver never got out, just sat there. I told myself it was a neighbor's car, but it never moved. Then I saw it in the grocery store parking lot and at a coffee shop where I was meeting a new date. That's when I saw him, a tall man with slicked back hair and sunglasses. He was watching me. I went on a date with a man named Paul. Nice guy, charming. For the first time in months, I felt something real. But during the date, I looked out the window and saw the gray SUV again. The tall man was sitting inside the coffee shop, playing with his phone, watching me. I told Paul I had a work emergency and left. I drove around for an hour, trying to lose him. I thought I did. But when I got home, the SUV was waiting, parked right outside my house. I called the police. They came. The man in the SUV was a licensed private investigator. Someone had hired him to follow me. The police wouldn't tell me who, but I knew. I confronted Wade. He denied everything, said I was paranoid, said he was just worried about me. I told him to stay away. I tried to move on with my life. I started seeing Paul more, and for a few weeks, I felt safe again. Then Paul and I went on a hike, a beautiful state park. We were laughing, enjoying the day, but I felt it again, that feeling of being watched. Even Paul noticed. He kept glancing into the trees. We both felt it. When we got back to the parking lot, Paul went to the bathroom. I waited outside, and then I heard something. Running. Fast footsteps behind me. I turned. Wade was sprinting toward me. His face was twisted, crazy. He grabbed my arm and screamed, "You've been unfaithful! I forgive you, but we're leaving right now!" Paul heard me scream. He ran out of the bathroom and tackled Wade to the ground. Wade got up, started threatening both of us. Paul stood his ground. Wade backed away, but he was smiling, like he enjoyed it, like this was just the beginning. We ran to the car and drove straight to the police station. I got a restraining order. Wade disappeared. His social media was deleted, his phone was disconnected. It was like he never existed. But here's what I never told anyone. A few months later, I woke up in the middle of the night. I felt like I was being watched. I went to the window. There was a gray SUV parked across the street. But here's what I never told anyone. A few months later, I woke up in the middle of the night. I felt like I was being watched. I went to the window. There was a gray SUV parked across the street. The driver was looking up at me. And it wasn't Wade. It was the private investigator. He smiled. Then he drove away. After everything happened, I started digging. I don't know why. Maybe I needed closure. Maybe I needed to know if I was just unlucky or if something else was at work. I looked into Steve's background first. The man who lived in the woods with a mannequin. I found out he wasn't just a stalker. He had done this before. In other towns. Other women. He would give them money, become obsessed, then vanish. But here's what the police never found. Steve had a brother. I never met him. I never even learned his name. But when I searched Steve's aliases, I found a record of a brother. He was released from a mental institution a few years before Steve started his stalking spree, and he had a history of obsession, of following women, of building shrines. I don't know if he was acting alone or if he was helping Steve, but I do know that when Steve was arrested, the brother disappeared, and the mannequin in the shed, it wasn't there when the police returned the next day. Then I thought about Shane, the fake PI who lured me to that abandoned house. After that night, I looked up the property. It had been owned by a man who died in the 1980s. He had a son. And then there was Wade. I found out later that he had been in therapy for years. His therapist was a man named Dr. William Cross, a man who had also treated someone else, someone who had similar obsessions, someone who had a gray SUV, someone who had a brother. I know it sounds crazy, but I can't shake the feeling that these men were part of something bigger than them, something that had been whispering to them for years, something that sent them into basements, into woods, into the lives of people who just wanted to be left alone. I don't know if there's a name for what I found. I don't know if it's a man, a group, or something worse. But I know this. After that night, I stopped looking. I moved. I changed my number. And I never spoke of it again. Until now. Because sometimes, the scariest thing isn't the monster under your bed. It's the quiet realization that you were never the first. And you won't be the last.